It was the coldest morning of the year when little Ava crawled under the rusted iron gates of Hollow Pine Cemetery, clutching a faded notebook and a tiny bunch of wild daisies she'd picked from the roadside. Her coat was threadbare, her mittens mismatched, and her boots barely held together by duct tape. But her eyes sparkled with a purpose that defied the frostbitten winds. She came here every Sunday, rain or shine, to sit beside a gravestone no one else visited. The world had forgotten the man buried beneath, but Ava hadn't. Not because she knew him, but because he had no one. The gravestone simply read, Elliot Graves, 1952 to 2021. Gone quietly. No flowers. No trinkets. No signs of love. Ava had first noticed the lonely plot a year ago when tagging along with her grandmother, who volunteered to clean gravesites. While most graves bore evidence of care and visits, this one stood isolated, smudged by weather and time. Something about the quiet dignity of the stone had drawn her in. That day, her grandmother had told her, they say he was a millionaire. Owned companies. Died alone. No family. Some say he was mean. Others say he just got lost in his own world. Ava, just 11 then, hadn't been able to stop thinking about him. How could someone who once had everything end up forgotten? So she began writing to him. Every week, she'd bring a new letter, telling Mr. Graves about her life, about her mom working double shifts, her dreams of becoming a teacher, the stray cat she secretly fed behind the laundry shop. She'd read the letters aloud by his grave, then tucked them under a small stone near the base. It wasn't much. But in her childlike mind, it mattered. Months passed. Her weekly visits became routine. Locals began to notice. A few scoffed, just a silly kid. But some watched with quiet admiration. She cleaned the grave with her tiny hands, left flowers whenever she could find them, and even sang lullabies when the wind howled too loudly. She treated Elliot Graves not like a stranger, but like a forgotten friend. Her innocent kindness began to whisper through the town. Then came the day everything changed. One Sunday morning, as Ava approached the grave, she found a man waiting there. Tall, in a long coat, with silver hair and eyes tired like they'd seen too much. He held one of Ava's letters in his gloved hands. "You're the one who writes these?" he asked gently. Ava nodded, suddenly nervous. "I'm Malcolm," the man said. "Elliot was my brother." Ava blinked in surprise. "But, everyone said he had no family." Malcolm looked down, voice cracking. "That's partly true. We hadn't spoken in years. Not since he shut the world out. Business hardened him. Wealth isolated him. And I gave up trying." He swallowed hard, then said, "But I came here today because of you. Someone mailed me a copy of your letters. Said a little girl was giving my brother the love the world never did." Ava's cheeks flushed. "I didn't mean to bother anyone." "No," Malcolm said, tears forming. "You did what none of us had the courage to. You saw him, not the millionaire, not the recluse, but the human." News of the meeting spread like wildfire. A local journalist overheard the story and published an article titled, "She Was Just 12. But What She Did for a Buried Millionaire Shocked the World." Within days, it went viral. People from all corners of the globe wrote letters of admiration. Ava's school mailbox overflowed. Kind-hearted strangers began sending flowers to Elliot's grave. Families visited forgotten graves in their own towns, inspired by the simple love of a child. But what followed next shocked even Ava. One quiet Tuesday, a black car pulled up outside her modest apartment. Malcolm stepped out, carrying a briefcase and a letter. Inside was a document, Elliot's final will. Unbeknownst to everyone, he had rewritten it shortly before his death, leaving a large portion of his estate in a trust for compassion, to be managed in favor of anyone who showed genuine, selfless kindness. Malcolm, moved by Ava's heart, named her the first recipient. With the trust's help, Ava's mother was finally able to stop working 3 jobs. Ava was offered a scholarship to one of the best schools in the state. But more importantly, Ava insisted that part of the trust go toward maintaining graves of those forgotten, so no one, rich or poor, would ever be left alone in death. By 13, Ava had spoken at memorials, been interviewed by global networks, and inspired a movement called the Kindness Grave. People worldwide began visiting cemeteries, leaving letters, flowers, or even simply sitting with those long forgotten. Still, Ava never let it change her. Every Sunday, without fail, she returned to Elliot's grave. She still brought letters, sometimes read them aloud, sometimes sat in silence. When asked why she still did it even now that the world watched, she'd say, because kindness isn't about being seen. It's about seeing others. Years later, Ava would become a teacher, just as she'd dreamed. On the walls of her classroom, she kept a framed photo of Elliot's grave and a simple quote, "The world forgot him. But one child remembered. And in remembering, changed everything." What Ava did was never about fame, fortune, or recognition. She was just a child who listened to her heart and acted with compassion in a world that often forgets to. And sometimes, that's all it takes to move the world.